Hello everybody. In today's presentation we'll be discussing the main features of medieval ballads and oral culture. Let's start with oral culture because it is the largest container from where the medieval ballads spawn. Okay, let's fix some of the main elements of oral culture that we can that are useful for our purposes. First of all, the name itself says one very important thing. Oral culture is oral, it is not written, so it is not fixed on paper. This means many things. It means that, for example, it can be produced and it is produced by everyone, not only by educated people. The large majority of the literature we study, both in English, in Italian, in French, and anywhere else we study literature in school, is mostly, is in the largest part, produced by educated people. So at least in during the Middle Ages, during the Renaissance, and up until the let's say more or less the second half of the 19th century, was could be read, studied, enjoyed only by educated people, because a large part of the population could not read or write. And since it is oral culture adapts to its context. It is oral, it can change, so it adapts to its context, and it reflects the context it is produced in, or the context it is used in. Let's move to the ballads. As we said, they are a product of oral culture. And as we said, they don't have, most of them at least, don't have a known author. They are a product of many countless influences. They're the product of, I don't know, unknown singers or music players. And they don't have a known author. They are usually passed on orally. They are not written down, at least in the beginning. There are, obviously now there are collections of popular ballads, but at the same time we know that they arrived to us from the Middle Ages, mostly because they were passed on orally wherever they were sung or recited or things like that. And obviously, since they are the product of popular social classes, they deal with popular themes like love, magic, power, politics, popular legends, and so on. And obviously, their being oral mean that they change according to time and place. And we have seen a couple of examples when we listen to Froggy Went A-Courtin' by Bruce Springsteen and King Kong Kichi Kichi Kaimio by Laura Veers, which are basically the same lyric, the same song, more or less the same ballad, that became two very different songs today. We'll see how Lord Randall, which we will discuss later on in this presentation, in a way has the same legacy. It produces many different results from the same subject matter. Also, moving on to some more technical elements, some more technical features. One of the most important features of the medieval ballad is that a ballad is created to be recited, so it must be easy to memorize. If you have to tell it orally, you have to remember it. So the text has to be easy to remember. So they usually have a fixed structure. Each stanza is not different from the others. They all follow the same structure, and they all use the same rhythm. Rhythm is very important because rhythm helps memory to work better. And also, ballads use devices like rhyme, alliteration, repetition, and things like that to make them easier to be recited and to be memorized. And in many cases, since ballads are meant to be recited in public, sung in public, are to be, used in a dance during a fair in a small town in the country or things like that, they are created for public performance, and they are created to involve the audience in the performance itself. So, for example, they use devices like call and response, where the main singer sings a line and the audience responds with another line. Okay? Let's move then to the object, the ballad we are studying, so Lord Randall. What are the main features of this ballad? As we said in class, Lord Randall comes from a very long tradition. It is thought that the origin of this ballad are really medieval, so we can say that it is at least 600 or 700 years old, and its subject matter comes from a subject matter that is spread all over Europe. In Italian it's called Il Testamento dell'Avvelenato, and we know that there are versions in Italian, in English, but in many, many different languages all over Europe. We are not sure where this subject matter come originally from, and we don't even know if there is one original subject matter. But this idea is that is spread all over Europe, and there are versions in many different languages all over Europe. The version that you have on your book and that we have studied in class is a Scottish version. So you will see how the spelling and the pronunciation of some words is a bit different from standard English, but more or less is similar to standard English. The main subject matter is probably related to the dangers of leaving home for marriage or for travel. Once again, Lord Randall goes out of his house, goes to the woods to meet his true love, and is poisoned by her. So the moral of the story, let's say, is you better stay home with the ones who know you and love you, rather than go out and meet a stranger who will probably not do you any good. And as we said, it has a long story. It comes from the Middle Ages, but we have studied that it is used still today. There are songs that are modern musical versions of Lord Randall sung in Scottish, but there is also a modern rendition of this subject matter in the work of Nobel Prize laureate Bob Dylan in the song "A Hard Rain's Are Gonna Fall" that we listened to in class. So let's have a look at the lyrics, at the ballad itself. We see that it has a very regular structure. In these versions, there are 10 stanzas, of 4 lines each. And we see that there are many elements that make this ballad easy to remember and to recite. And right now we will point them out. So as you see, in red, there are elements that are repeated all throughout the songs. So the second half of each of the first 3 lines in each of every stanza are basically the same. There is absolutely nothing more to memorize than these three half lines, and you will notice that the last line of each stanza is different, but there are five different lines. I'm sorry, there are two last lines for stanza that are spread in 5 stanzas each. So for the first 5 stanzas, you see that there's the line "for I'm weary with hunting and fain would lie down," and for the final 5, therefore I'm sick at the heart and I fain would lie down. And by the way, you will notice that the second half of this line is more or less the same in both versions. They change when the structure of this ballad, that's a question and answer song ballad. So in the first 2 lines, the mother asks Lord Randall questions, and in the third and in the fourth line of each stanza, Lord Randall answers this question. And since after the 5th stanza, the subject matter changes because both Lord Randall and his mother realize that he has been poisoned, in this case the last line changes, but it remains quite similar to the other last line. And you will notice how someone who would like to recite or sing this ballad has to do a very small work, because you just have to learn 3 half lines, and we will see, and you will notice, that these 3 half lines basically are 2 lines that you have to learn, because as you see here, this is just the first stanza, but this technique is used all throughout the ballad. You will see that the first 2 half lines in red are the same, and the only line that changes is the 3rd one. So here, "Oh, where have you been, Lord Randall, my son? And where have you been, my handsome young man? I have been at the greenwood." That's the part that changes. "Mother, mark my bait soon, for I'm weary with hunting and fain would lie down." So the work is the work for someone who would like to remember and then sing this ballad is quite easy. It has to remember more or less 3 half lines, a couple of last lines for each stanza, and then another couple lines. So it's very easy. So it's much easier to remember this ballad, for example, than a part of, for example, Divina Commedia, who was a much more structurally complex poem that, even though is built on rhythm, rhymes, and so on, is much more complicated. It's much more complex to remember. Okay, so with this last section and with this last idea, I end up this short presentation, and the only thing I need to do now is to thank you and to tell you that I'll see you next time.